Hi, I'm Kathryn, and we want you to stay bendy. So we're going to do a full body stretch, starting off with a warm-up, mobilization, and then we'll get to the stretching. You need floor space. We'll either be sitting or lying. A towel as a prop to help you stretch. And if you have a stretch cord, that would be ideal. So let's get started just with a seated warm-up. We want to rise through the head, feel the spine lifting from the pelvis. I like closing my eyes. We just want to spend a few moments helping our body to relax. So each exhale, feel breath, sweet mind, removing any thoughts that might arise. And just feel that you're expanding into the spaciousness of a still mind. Continuing, let's begin by balancing narrowing with widening, rising with sinking, and then feel your chest cavity retreat and advance. Each time we begin again, the opposite arm crosses in front as we narrow and widen. Let's rise and sink. Heart center retreats and advances. Feel your shoulder blades spread apart and knit back together. Continuing, let's drop one hand towards the back of the shoulder. Keep rising through the crown of the head. And then anchoring through this pelvis, let's reach the head high side away from it. Feeling these ribs expanding and these ribs condensing. And then grounding the hand, let's invest fully in that spinal arc. And repeat. This pelvis feels like a sandbag releasing sand to counterweight the rising of the spine high side. continuing, we're going to look to the floor in our side space, root through the pelvis and grow into side space through the upper body. Feel the reach coming from the tips of the fingers and the crown of the head. Notice where you feel the tissue tension of your stretch. And every time you exhale, soften there, as though you're yielding to the form of the pose. And then forward facing again, the tailbone anchors the head, leads the spine up and over as we give lateral bending of the spine a different dynamic treatment. Feel your tailbone anchor your head lead as you rise through gravity and release with gravity. Inhaling, exhaling, a swaying action. And then we'll pause to the side. This arm will chase the other arm as the head half circles forward. And we rise center to begin again. And then revolving, lengthening out into side space, using each exhale to soften and deepen. And then forward facing, inhale, rise, exhale, release. And we'll again pause to the side, half circle the head into our front space, and rise center. Okay, continuing our warm-up, we're going to take it down on our backs and lift the feet, and the knees carve a looping pathway as my hands are doing, and you can go in either direction. But as you carve the looping pathway, feel that your thigh bone is stirring the hip socket, mobilizing and warming the joint. And then reversing directions, practicing mindfulness or presence. Feel every point along the movement path as you create it. Think of each moment as being equal to all others, but unique from them. And then we'll ground one foot and reach the other leg up and continue the warm-up. Let's draw the toes towards us, folding the ankle. Keep the sole of the foot facing where it is and barely bend the knee. And then reach the heel extending the knee and reach the toes extending the ankle. Let's continue drawing the toe in and bending the knee, reaching out from the heel and out from the toes. If you would like to layer on more complexity for greater benefit, each time you reach the foot towards you, let the three little toes lead as though they're a flipper or a fin. And feel how doing so activates the outer musculature of your foot and ankle. And when you reach away, feel like the two big toes, like the point of a pin, are leading. And then we'll place that foot on the other thigh, drop the knee wide to the side. If you already feel a stretch in the hip of the top leg, remain here, but if not, draw the legs chestward until you do. And then with each exhale, just soften, drifting a little deeper. Now as we go into a straddle stretch, we can modify keeping the knee bent, or if we like, we can fully extend the leg. We don't need to hold anywhere on the leg, but we could hold anywhere on the leg or foot we choose. And again, each exhale, feel the heel reach from the sits bone, elongating the leg, extending the knee, and feel the tissue softening to allow that. The heels reach straight up, the width of each sits bone, in a parallel stretch. And now we'll just switch legs, continuing our warm-up. So same thing with the other leg. We draw the toe in, bend the knee, reach the heel, reach the toes. Questions to ask in a stretch training session are, could I be softer? Could I be slower? And then when you're ready to move on, putting that foot on the other thigh, dropping the knee wide, and if necessary, drawing the legs chestward. Following breath, each exhale is that opportunity to soften and deepen. And when you're ready to move on, again, the straddle. And parallel. And release. We're going to go through a series of 4 hip openers now, and then we'll begin a stretch series using either the towel or the rope. So let's begin on our back with the non-stretching side, leg extended, and of course you bend the knee as much as you need, but the more on the floor, the more unfolded the hip, the better. We're going to begin by just folding this hip. So each time we exhale, we just soften, feel the knee drift towards the trunk of the body, and the fold of the hip deepen. We're going to hold each of these 15 seconds. Okay, I don't know if my count was the same as yours, but let's go on. Now we're going to fold this knee and ground the foot. Put the other foot on top of it. Now, we want to keep the pelvis grounded. We don't want to lift the pelvis off on that side. And we're going to do a diagonal hip flexion. We're just going to press the inside of the knee towards the opposite shoulder. It is a very subtle feeling. Many people feel they're not stretching anything, but trust me, you're getting the right target. And releasing. Okay, now let's extend this leg. We want to retreat through this top front hip bone, the ASIS bone, enough that dropping the weight of the leg side doesn't cause us to rotate in the pelvis. So feel like you're retreating or anchoring here. So you're staying level in the pelvis as you drop the knee out wide in what is often called a figure 4 stretch. It can help to take the hand on that side and just gently press the leg into a deeper stretch. And we're creating a subtle feeling of stretch along the groin, where the tissues of the inner thigh and pelvis join. Now folding this knee and grounding the foot again, keeping the knee dropped wide in that figure 4. Often people feel with the foot grounded that they already have the stretch in the side of this hip and the external rotators. Others have to draw the legs chestward until we get that feeling. And releasing. All right, now let's either go to a towel or the stretch cord. If I were using a towel, I would roll it into a tube and hook that around the arch of my foot, like that. So that it's easier to see my leg, I'm going to use the stretch rope, but it will work out the same whatever you're using. Now, once you get your stretch apparatus around the arch of the foot, you can have this leg bent as it is now, or more advanced, you can extend it along the floor. We draw the toes in, we notice where the sole of the foot is facing, and rather than have the sole of the foot move to a different facing, we keep it in that same facing as we yield the knee, and we reach the heel, and with each exhale we soften. And let's again slightly yield the knee and reach the heel. And the timing of that can be whatever feels right to you. If you start to feel that you're bracing against the stretch and accumulating tension, that's the time to yield and create a renewal of moving back in. Now let's point the toe, arc the leg down, flex the ankle, walk our hand up the towel or the rope until we're back to our stretch point. And we'll repeat that. And one more time. Now next we're going to release our stretch straps. They'll just dangle freely, or if your towel needs to be put aside, go ahead. Interlacing the fingers underneath the thigh. Now make sure on this next one, when we hold position, not to hold breath, but to allow your breath to flow naturally. We're going to press the leg down into the hands as though we want to lower the leg, but our arms aren't letting us. We're feeling muscles working, and we're going to do this for 10 more seconds. And then on an exhale, we're going to relax and move back into the stretch. We'll yield the knee and reach the heel. Again, releasing the rope. This time we place the hand on top of the thigh. We vigorously press the leg up into the hands, creating work on the front side. And on an exhale, relax back into the stretch. And again, yielding the knee and reaching the heel. Okay, let's release and go through that same sequence on the other side. So we'll begin by folding the hip and using each exhale to soften and drift deeper. Releasing, we fold this leg, place the other foot on it, keep the pelvis grounded, and press the leg across towards the opposite shoulder. It's a very subtle stretch of a very short muscle, the piriformis. It's the deepest of our 6 external rotators. And releasing. So now extending this leg, keeping the pelvis retreating enough that it stays level with the pelvis bone on the other side as we drop the knee wide and use the hand as you like to press even a little deeper. And now to finish up this hip opening series, again, we have this knee folded. If we need to draw the legs closer in, we do. And releasing. Okay, now back to your stretch strap, placing it around the foot. This leg can be folded or unfolded. We want to feel the heel reaching away from the sits bone, extending the knee to our comfort level. Oftentimes people make the mistake in stretching hamstring of working the flexibility of the hamstring across the hip joint, but failing to do so across the knee joint. It's a 2-joint muscle, and both are important. So when you get to the point that your other leg is straight and on the floor, and you can bring this leg perpendicular to the ground, then we shouldn't think about trying to get the thigh in closer and bending the knee to do so. Our first goal is to get with this leg straight and on the floor versus like that. We want the upper leg bone straight up and down, and then we keep reaching the heel as far from the sits bone as we can to get the knee as straight as we can, rather than bending the knee, and continue to train the stretch across the hip while failing to do so across the knee. And whenever you feel like it, you just yield the knee a little bit, reach the heel extending into your stretch, and just create that sense of renewal. As you're ready to move on, we'll point the toe or extend the ankle. We'll arc the leg down, heel at the width of the sits bone. We always want to train functional pathways. Then we flex the ankle, walk our hand up the rope, and move back into our stretch. And repeating. And one more time. Releasing the rope, interlacing the hand under the leg, pressing the leg down into the hand, breathing normally. And on the exhale, relaxing into stretch. And yielding and reaching. Again, releasing the rope, hands on top of the thigh, press the leg up into the hands. And relax into your stretch. Yielding and reaching. Okay. Let's come on back up to sitting, and we're going to end this stretch section with some upper body stretches. If you have a history of shoulder injuries or things going on, some of these might not be for you, and so always take care of yourself and listen to your own body. So the towel will work again. Again, rolling it up into a tube so that the ends are about the right grip width for you is about right. You can also use your stretch cord. So once you have that, we want to reach our arms to a high diagonal, so your high corners, but we don't want to lose the reach upward away from the tailbone, from the back top of the skull, the crown of the head. We also want to feel the spine between the shoulder blades softening and advancing. Good. Now, once you get the right width established, feel your hands carving a spatial arc forward, up, and back, and hold there, but not sacrificing that crown of the head rising, a sense of the shoulder blades gliding down the back, anchoring. and a sense of the spine between the shoulder blades softening and advancing. And then we'll just return along that path. So again, we carve forward, up, back, and we pause. You should be able to bobble your head. There's no tension. Now this time we're going to add another element, and just let what happens happen naturally. Don't move your head to correct the position of the towel. Keep that same alignment in the upper body, and the towel may be in front of your head, it may be on top of it, it may be behind it. So we're going to again carve front, up, and back. And now we're just going to take our elbows and let them drop right to the side of our ribs. We're going to reach high and back again and return. Now just take your elbows right to the side of your ribs. Reach your hands back and high and return. Now we're going to end with some shoulder circumduction. And again, if you've had any history of shoulder injuries or mobility limitations, you watch this first to see if it's for you. It takes trial and error to find out how far apart your hands need to be on your towel to be successful and be able to access the backspace. So we already know we can go front and up. Now the question becomes, can we go all the way back? If you can't, chances are you need to have your hands wider apart, and you'll just correct that. Good. So again, the hands carve an orbit around the shoulder by going front, up, all the way back, and all the way down. Now we retrace that path. We go all the way back, up, forward, and down. Now notice that it's a three-dimensional movement. Your shoulder goes here from an internal rotation through neutral and ends in external rotation. So be aware of what part of the hand is leading the spatial path. The use of the hand is very important to shoulder mobility because how we use our hands amplifies through the whole body and particularly affects shoulder and neck mechanics. So I personally end with my little finger edge of the hand facing forward, my shoulder in external rotation, my palm facing up. I'm pretty neutral right here, and when I end, I'm more internally rotated with my palm facing more to the back. We're all individual, and so your expression might turn out different than mine, but awareness of what it is key. And it always helps to integrate breath. Inhaling as you feel, exhaling as you feel supports your movement. So that's it for our first Stay Bendy session. Now get up and go out and have some fun. Oops, can't go out. Sorry about that. Get up and do something and just feel how much better you feel now that you've mobilized and stretched.